Hi everyone, I'm Eric Mahasi and welcome to my kitchen. Today for lunch, I'll be making Sukuma Wiki, which I'll be serving with ugali and eggs. This trio is such a classic combination in Kenyan homes and it always slaps. I'll be making the Sukuma Wiki two different ways, so make sure you watch till the end of the video. Ingredients. For the Sukuma Wiki, I have the Sukuma Wiki itself divided into two portions. I'll use half of this red onion, and since I have ghee, that's what I'll be using, but feel free to substitute this for cooking fat or cooking oil. Lastly, I have some milk. For the eggs, I have the 2 eggs, the rest of this red onion, 2 tomatoes, a little bit of tomato paste. I'll use salt and pepper to taste as well. I'll start by getting everything prepared so that when I get to actually cooking, I'm much more efficient. This is a concept called mise en place. You'll pardon my pronunciation, but it basically means everything in place. And it really does go a long way in making you more efficient in the kitchen. So I don't have a lot of prep work to do. It involves simply dicing an onion, 2 tomatoes, and cracking some eggs. So when it comes to cutting things in the kitchen, you want to make sure you're always working with a sharp knife because there's nothing more dangerous in the kitchen than a blunt knife. Before I start cutting anything, I always take out my honing blade and I use it to keep my knife sharp. It doesn't actually sharpen the knife, but it does keep it sharp. So I'll just take my knife from heel to tip and run it along the blade of this, along the length of this honing steel, and it actually does make a noticeable difference when you're cutting things. So I'll quickly get that done and then we can jump into the fun part. Depending on the state of my blade and how much I'm prepping and cutting, I might need to do this during the cooking process as well, but once before I get started is usually enough for me. I'll start with dicing my red onion. What I like to do is have a plastic bag close to where I'm working, and this makes it super easy to get rid of kitchen refuse, and it also reuses this plastic bag that would have otherwise just been thrown away. Like I said, I'll use half of this onion for the Sukuma Wiki and the other half for the eggs, but I'll go ahead and dice both of them right now. We'll do the tomatoes now. So I'm noticing that my knife is struggling to pierce this tomato, and that's a sign that I should sharpen this knife, which is something that I'll do. But for now, I'm just going to hone it again to make this process a bit easier and much safer. This is also a nice opportunity to show you a different technique you can use to hone your blades. If you're not comfortable doing it in the air like this, you could do it on a surface and just the same thing, run the knife from heel to tip along the length of the steel. Be careful, you definitely don't want your steel slipping like mine, so place it on a rug or a non-slip surface. Now I should be able to cut these tomatoes much easier. The last thing I'll do for prepping is cracking my eggs. Whisk them. And now that I have everything ready, we are good to go. I'm going to start with cooking the skooma, and the first method is sauteing. I'm going to take half of my red onion and add it to a sufuria. Then I'll add a little bit of ghee. It's about 2 teaspoons. And get that going on low heat. This is my first time cooking with ghee and it smells so good, you guys. I feel like this sufuria is a bit dry. I feel like these onions are a bit dry, so I'm going to add a little bit of ghee, maybe 1 more teaspoon. I'm going to add a bit of salt here, just a small pinch to season the onions. And this is a very important step. Whenever you're cooking, you want to make sure you season at every stage. The onions have taken on a nice brown color, so I'm going to add the Sukuma Wiki at this point. And mix well, get everything incorporated. Going to season the Sukuma Wiki with a few pinches of salt. I think that should be good. And since my Sukuma Wiki is a bit on the dry side, I'm going to add a few splashes of milk. Full disclosure, I might have added a bit too much milk, but that's okay. It's not too much, it's not like they're drowning in there. So I'll cover this and let it cook on low heat for 3 to 4 minutes. While the first batch of Sukuma Wiki is cooking, let me show you the second method for cooking them, which is steaming. I've been enjoying steaming my veggies of late because it's quick. It doesn't involve a lot of prep work, and it's an interesting, different cooking technique. The texture is a bit different and it adds a lot of variety, especially if you have something else that you've already sauteed. It makes the dish a bit more dynamic, I think. So let's get into that. You'll start by adding 2 or so tablespoons of water to a sufuria. You really don't need much, especially if your veggies were wet, like they had been washed, or they have a lot of internal moisture. So we'll get that boiling. As soon as it starts to boil, right about now, I'm going to add the Sukuma Wiki. Mix well, make sure the water is well distributed. Turn the heat to low. That looks good to me, so we'll cover this. Set a timer for 3 minutes and they should be perfectly done. While the second batch is cooking, we can take a look at the first one and see how that's doing. Oh, that looks good. Great, as you can see, it wasn't too much milk and it's added a nice creamy texture to the Sukuma Wiki. So we'll taste this for seasoning. Okay, that's good. It's actually perfect. I don't need to add anything. Okay, these are done, so I'll turn off the heat. Okay, it's been 3 minutes, so I'll check on the steamed veggies. Oh, this also look nice. I love how vibrant and green this is. These look done to me, so I'll preemptively turn off the heat. Season them with salt. You should really be careful when you're salting, especially Sukuma Wiki, because the cardinal rule in the kitchen is you can always add, but you can't subtract. And I have fallen victim one too many times to oversalting my Sukuma Wiki to the point where you feel like it's a bit too sharp. It's a bit too salty, and that has never ended well for me. So keep that in mind. I'll move on to the eggs now. So in a non-stick pan, I have the other half of that onion, and I'm going to add some margarine, which has decided it wants to stick to the spoon. I'm adding the margarine just for a little bit of extra flavor in the eggs. We're going to saute these, add the tomatoes, add the tomato paste, add the eggs, and then season at the end, and we'll be done. If you watched my previous video on how to cook ugali, this part is going to be very familiar to you, so I won't spend a lot of time on it, but enjoy this time lapse of me making some ugali. I just love how much these colors stand out, and I can't wait to eat this. I love how this Sukuma Wiki came out. Like I said, it's my first time cooking with ghee, and I'm super impressed with the results. It has a nice flavor. It's almost buttery. It almost blends in the background, but it's also present. It's also something you notice, and it adds a really nice layer of depth to this Sukuma Wiki, which Otherwise, it can be pretty bland, it can be pretty boring. Like I said, this is a staple meal which you might have been eating for years on end. So the ghee is a nice change, it's really good. The tomatoes are nicely seasoned, the eggs themselves are seasoned. The ugali is nice and soft. What more can I say? And all of it together is just explosions in the mouth. Okay, I'm going to sit down and finish the rest of this. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you get the chance, please do make the Sukuma Wiki in the 2 ways that I showed you, and let me know how that goes in the comment section. Otherwise, thanks so much for your time. I'll see you next time. Bye.